With estimated revenues of rupees 850 crore, in-cinema advertising has emerged to be one of the largest and most lucrative advertising options lately. On that note, I have with me the CEO of PVR, Mr. Gautam Dutta, to speak on the brand's latest, in-cinema advertising experience and, of course, the overall landscape. We welcome you, Mr. Datta. Okay, sir. So let's just begin with understanding the overall landscape, which is cinema industry was one of the industries that grappled with the pandemic in a big way. I want to have a sense of how the industry is performing currently. What have been some of the insights or trends that you may have observed post the pandemic?
Let me start by saying there were just too many questions being asked on whether cinema shall survive post-COVID. Today, we can talk about the Q1 results that we've had. This was the first quarter where we got the complete run for movies being released. And you've seen the results. We've had the highest turnover ever. We've had the highest ATP growth, highest food sales, highest EBITDA. And about 90% recovery in terms of footfalls. I'm comparing it to the pre-COVID Q1. Now, if that has anything to do with the faith and confidence of consumers, this is it. Over 2.5 crore people came into the cinemas within 3 months. What more can one say about the changing consumer? So yes, consumer is ever changing, and we have our ears to the ground, always wanting to know that change. But all I can tell you is that today we can say it even more confidently that cinemas is no longer just about screening movies. It's about an experience. It's about food. It's about coming out. It's about the joy of that 4 hours that you spend in the cinema. It's about having that warm tub of popcorn in your hand. So technically, having said that, I think cinema experiences have evolved. Hospitality around cinema has evolved. And I think we are in a great space. And if, as I said, not only to the market, we were ever convinced of what cinema is and how the cinema industry would grow. And I think we are only now doubly confident as we move forward.
That's great to know, sir. Taking cue from the same question, I would want to understand the kind of observations you've had in terms of the revenues or ad spends that have happened pre-COVID and post-COVID. If you could give us a fair sense of the comparison between the two.
Advertising has been a bit of a laggard in all our revival. Having said that, we've kind of revived to about 70% of the pre-COVID. We believe that by Q3, we should be within the hitting range of the pre-COVID numbers. And in Q4, I'm confident we'll exceed the pre-COVID numbers. So largely, that's been the trajectory. It's taken us a little time because, here we have to go out and start conversations with our corporate partners. We've been off radar for a very long time. And now that we're back in, we've got a fabulous response. And to be able to get a 70% recovery, we believe is brilliant. But all of a sudden, when you look at the highest turnover, the highest ATP, the highest SPH, footfalls coming back, you feel that advertising is taking a little more time. Yes, it is. But given our relationship with our corporate clients and given the fact what cinema delivers, which is unparalleled impact, I believe the recovery to pre-COVID is just about a couple of months away, and then we really talk about the growth beyond that.
So before we jump to your in-cinema experience that you've launched very recently, I would want you to give us a sense of how cinema advertising has really evolved in the past few years. What have been your insights and observations?
So a lot actually. Earlier, cinema advertising was only restricted to some ads being played pre and during the intermission. Today, brands and brand managers are spending a whole lot of time wanting to evolve their campaign for cinema. Today, campaigns are being designed to play at cinemas. The longer versions play well. Also, remember that cinema offers the best audio visual experience. So it's a creative person delight. It's the brand manager's delight because the way they have envisaged a commercial, it plays on that level at the cinema in our own television sets, on YouTube, on mobile phones. It's always restricted to the gadget that you have. But when it plays in the cinema, it just exceeds all level, and we are able to sort of give that kind of experience to the consumer. Coming back to your core question, today, as I said, brand managers are spending a whole lot of time planning campaigns around cinema. They are no longer just looking at, ads being played on the big screen. There is an off-screen activation. There is the plasmas and LED screens that we have. There is demo stations that is set up. So there is so much more that brands are wanting to do now, that when a person buys a ticket to the time he exits, there is a complete flow that brand managers map and ensure that at every point there is certain amount of communication that leaves that impact. What you may find very fascinating is that when we do exit interviews, and a lot of brands do that at our cinema, the highest recall for their campaigns is at the cinema, simply because you are immersed, as I said, in that screen. There is no remote in your hand, you cannot skip it. And the kind of engagement a brand does, and you can look at our loos, you can look at our F&B, you can look at our foyers to create ideas that work with the consumer, because that's 2 or 3 places you will find your consumer, and he's captive. He's not going anywhere. He's locked in with us. So there is so much that you can plan. Your creativity sees no bound that you can possibly work around it.
I would agree that the cinema experience does, offer a very holistic experience to the audience that comes in. That brings me to, the bell of the ball, which is your in cinema experience that you've launched today. If you could just take us through the idea behind it and what factors have contributed to the growth of in cinema experience. What have boosted? So I know that greater footfall and the greater number of multiplexes is, of course, one of the reasons. Infrastructure can be another reason. So what, according to you, are some of the reasons which have, pushed this phenomenon even further?
So you rightly pointed out, one is the sheer numbers, that we deliver great numbers. One is that we have a platform, a tech platform, which delivers the best audio-visual delivery to your ad. But most importantly, it's the quality of consumers that PVR offers, not cinema, but PVR. And let me explain you why. A movie that plays in PVR is the same movie that plays in every cinema. But a consumer who comes to PVR is paying an extra dollar, sometimes $2, sometimes $3, sometimes $4 extra, to be in this experience. Now, pull back. Who is this consumer who pays more for a commodity product, which is the film, largely, right? The film, the story doesn't change in PVR, right? Shamshera is the same in PVR versus any other screen in the country. But consumers are saying, I will go to PVR and pay more and watch the same. Yeah. So that consumer is the most sought after consumer. Every brand manager, every product, every retail shop is looking for that consumer. Because what's the core promise? That this guy, if he likes my product, will be willing to pay me extra. And that differentiates a PVR audience with anyone else. So while there are some inherent benefits of advertising at the cinema, what really sets PVR aside is really the promise of a quality and a discerning audience who's willing to pay extra for a commodity product. That's the way, in one line, I could say that's what it is. And this is the most sought after guy in the world. Every advertiser is looking for that guy. And we have it all captive. Our 110 million people, and mind it, even if we are in tier 3 market, within the tier 3 market, I have the most discerning audience. So I could be in Jalgaon, but I will get the best audience out of Jalgaon to visit my cinema, because he's using my recliner, he's using that experience, and that makes the PVR audience very, very special.
So this brings me to a rather candid question, which is not there in the schedule. So I would want to ask you. You've told me what the great things about PVR that it has been doing for a long time. I want to understand that one thing that it still would want to work on in the coming years. What is that one thing that you feel is still, a laggard or something, an area which you would want to work on, and maybe that will level up the game even more.
So first and foremost, we never play for leveling. We are the leaders, so we have to redefine the game. Number one. Number two, have you ever played Rubik Cube? If you don't get one block right within the cube and you try doing little changes, you'll never get it right. The secret of this game is you should have the ability, the guts, and the heart to be able to break that completely and redefine it. Concepts are not made by doing minor modification. As a corporate, as an entity, as a brand, we have the guts to redefine experiences. So a lot of people ask me this question, so what's new at PVR? And I'm saying, that's not a good question. Ask me what's new in PVR seating, what is new in PVR carpet, what is new in PVR step lights, what is new in PVR food, what is new in PVR popcorn. There's every area. There is teams and minds working today to wanting to redefine. So from foyer lighting to carpets to seats to step lights to projection, sound, burgers, hot dogs, you name, there is not a single element where we believe as a brand we've arrived. We believe that there is always continuously scope to redefine, because we are the leaders. We cannot sit on our laurels. So what you see today is a newly designed, one of the best cinemas in the world, this director's cut. But is this the be all and end all? No, there is still room to grow, because it's a dynamic world. Consumers are today traveling all over the world, looking at the best of qualities. And Indian consumers is one of the most discerning consumers. He wants more, and we want to give him more. And that's what we are working on. So there is no easy answer for this. There is a team of 2,000 people, our own and a part of our vendor partners, who are all working for saying, this is where we've reached and there's so much more to do. And that's what we are working on. But to answer, I forgot answering one of your earlier question of what is this new technology we've launched. See, this is an experiential media technology, which uses the side walls of the cinema to project a story that mirrors with the main screen of the cinema. So while as a consumer, all of a sudden the side walls will light up, and there is a story that builds from the side wall of the cinema to the other side wall. So instead of one screen, now you've got 3 screens. So we use multiple projectors in this technology to be able to mirror first certain images on the side walls. We also have a story that blends with the main screen. What is playing today is the launch of the new Maruti Brezza. And we are in conversation with many brands who would be now making content that works even customized to this technology, because somebody can use this technology brilliantly, seamlessly to portray a great story. So what it delivers is unparalleled impact. And we are doing a lot of exit interviews. Each and every person coming into this auditorium steps out and say, "Hey, I remember that ad." That's the very first commercial he remembers, and that's the power. And why did we do that? Because like every other media, everybody is now wanting to up their game, look at engagement, look at ways and means to pop out at the consumer. And this is yet another great technology, a great medium, a great way to just get into this cluttered consumer's mind and to leave an impression.
Very well put, sir. This brings me to my last question. You have significant experience and expertise in the cinema business. I would want to understand the kind of in-cinema trends that you're anticipating in the next few years.
I truly see that this is only going to grow because the time for this mass branding we're all seeing is going away. Brand managers across are really wanting to work with media that delivers an impact and in some way leaves an impact in the consumer's mind. So I somehow feel that the kind of response we are getting, nobody ever thought that cinema advertising could sort of contribute to 11-12% of the total top line of a cinema. Nobody ever thought of this. And India and PVR, I must tell you, is right at the top in the world in the kind of revenues we generate. And that is because we play this game a lot differently. We innovate with brand managers. We've got a set of very experienced teams which actually sort of handholds brands and brand managers to think out of the box, to be able to deliver an unparalleled experience and an impact in the consumer's mind.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, sir. I'm sure the audiences will have a lot of takeaways from this interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.